Hello everyone, and welcome. So, a lot of newcomers to Dragon Quest III are usually stuck thinking about what classes they should choose at the start of the game, because you're going to be using these characters for the entire game, and you don't want to waste time training one of them, and you end up disliking your choices later on, or you don't make the best choice. So for beginners to Dragon Quest III, here's what party that me and most other Dragon Quest III players would recommend, and that is the hero, a warrior, a priest, and a mage. The warrior is good to have since they have high HP, defense, and attack power. They're definitely the best tanking unit, and they can go on longer than the other classes before they need healed. Another good thing about warriors is they can equip a large variety of the weapons and armor that you find. Their disadvantages are that they usually attack last since they have very low agility, and they can't cast any spells. So they are a little bit bland in that regard. Before we go on to the priest and mage, I would like to note that it would be totally okay to substitute the warrior with a fighter or a thief. One of the greatest things about the fighter is that they are much more likely to get critical attacks once they level up more. Their critical hit chance is calculated as their level divided by 128. All other classes have a flat chance of 1 out of 64 to score a critical hit. This makes them one of my favorites to pick. The fighter is a high strength class that many players go with. They also have much higher agility than warriors, and are usually the first or one of the first characters to attack in battle. A big downside to them though is that they don't have many options for weapons or armor. They'll be fighting barehanded for a while, so you just have to bear with it until they level up some. They get so much better once they can equip some claws. One thing to note is that though they may have less armor options, female fighters still have a slightly wider selection since they can still wear female-only armor items. The thief has a lot of useful skills, very high agility, and surprisingly good attack power. They can equip some pretty good weapons, including whips, which is my usual choice for them. You will have fewer choices for armor though. Their attack and defense overall is average compared to higher stats that a warrior would provide for offense or defense, or a fighter would provide for offense. They can also steal items from monsters at the end of battle. The last monster they kill is the one that will have a higher drop chance. You can get some very rare and valuable items this way with a better chance than the usual drop tables. The priest is another top pick for beginners. Having a dedicated healer is very convenient and will make playing the game much more enjoyable. It saves your hero from wasting their turn and MP using heal. You'll want to use your hero for attacking, his own spells, and occasional backup healing of course. So you definitely don't want your hero to be your main healer. This is something experienced players are usually okay with though. Sometimes it's more fun to play with a different class than a priest, like a goof-off, aka Jester. I'll get more into that with other party choices later, but with the priest you'll be able to travel a longer amount of time since they're taking care of the healing, and you'll be able to go through battles you otherwise couldn't because your characters are taking too much damage and you only have the hero to heal them. They also learn new and more advanced healing spells at lower levels than the hero. I think you'll have a lot more fun playing through your first game with a priest. The mage you'll definitely want for their wide variety of spells. The game would just not be as fun without them. They have many important damage and spells which can be very useful in boss battles and encountering new, tougher enemies. Also, magic is much more effective on some enemies than physical damage, so that comes in handy. You'll also want them so that you can change their class into a sage later. Sages are the best class that you can get. They have the best spells that cause more damage than anything, and have the highest level healing and buff spells. Okay, so as for classes, that covers everything a beginner should know. With these choices in mind, make your way to Ruda's Tavern and recruit everyone you need. To recruit someone and add them to your party, talk to the lady on the first floor here. To register a new character, which would be adding a new character that isn't already in this list, go upstairs and talk to this guy. You can select the name and the class of your new party members this way. You also get 5 seeds to give them some starting stats. You can have them selected randomly, but I would recommend doing it manually to make the best choices for your class. So for the priest, I would go with Vitality and Intelligence. The warrior, Strength, Vitality, and some Agility to make up for the poor leveling they get. It really doesn't matter too much, just try to make a fitting choice for the class. After they're registered, go back downstairs and add them to your party. The other important thing about party members is their personality. It's randomly assigned when they're created by being registered at the tavern. Your character's attributes will level up more or less with each character level up depending on their personality. For instance, the ordinary personality will have all of the character's stats level up at the average rate. If you register a party member with a bad personality, you might want to try and make a new one. You don't have to obsess and spend too much time on them. Ultimately, your characters will turn out okay and gain fulfilling amounts of power with each level. So if you don't want to spend too much time on this, it's okay. You can just go with one that doesn't have any negatives and continue on with the game. But if you're interested, here's some good info. The sexy personality is often regarded as the best, since it does have a total of plus 70% higher attribute bonuses, but it really depends on your class as well. For instance, if I had a warrior, I'd have no use for better leveling up in intelligence. They also have super low agility anyway, so I would actually prefer something like Valiant or Amazon for female fighters, which is much better for strength. Again, you can always go with ordinary or quick, aka bad out of hell, which most classes are able to start with. I'll leave a link to a chart in the comments that lists all of the attribute bonuses of all of the personalities, and some of these personalities you can't start out with. They can be changed with special books you find around the world, and also by wearing certain pieces of equipment. The books will make the personality permanent, and the items will make it a temporary change. Once you take the item off, you will go back to the personality that you had before. For the hero, you are assigned a personality based on your choices at the end of the test, during the beginning of the game. There are some you can't achieve through this test though. For the hero, a pretty good outcome would be Silly, aka Clown. Lastly, I would like to talk about the Jester class and changing classes at Dharma Temple. In the remake, the Jester is also known as the Gadabout. I'd like to start off by saying that this class is really not too great for beginners. I would only recommend choosing this over the Warrior for veterans. So you heard me mention the Sage before, the class with all of the best spells. Well, to change to that class, you need a Zen Scroll, and there are only 2 of them in the game. One of them you don't get until after the game. At Dharma Temple, you can change a character's class at level 20, though it's not advised to do that until a much later level. The special thing about a Jester is that it can change to a Sage class at level 20 without the need of a Zen Scroll, which is a massive plus. The downsides to this are that it won't have as good starting stats as a Mage changing to a Sage would. They can also be pretty frustrating to play as. They skip turns, don't do much damage, and can even negatively affect your other players, damaging them and such. Still, having many Sages because of this would make your life easier towards the end of the game. And to touch on the reclassing at level 20 at Dharma Temple, you might want to do this later on in your game to get some nice stat boosts for your characters. They'll start with much higher base stats when you switch classes, giving you a nice power boost later on. For example, changing a warrior to a fighter would create a very powerful character. Alright, and that's everything you need to know about your beginning party to have a great playthrough. And now, here's a few more good tips to get you into the game right and maximize your Dragon Quest gameplay experience. These tips are especially good for newcomers to Dragon Quest altogether. So first of all, in any new town you go to, you're going to want to talk to everyone around, and explore of course. A lot of villagers will tell you what's nearby, and maybe hints about some hidden items. It's also very important to talk to the villagers to progress the story. In many places, it's even necessary to trigger events. Exploring new towns is important so that you can find equipment, items, seeds, and mini-medals from stuff like drawers, chests, and such. You'll be able to turn in mini-medals back here in Allion to get some really great items. Secondly, when out on the world map, walking on certain terrain increases your chances of running into monsters randomly, and increases the chance of running into stronger monsters. In the plains, there's less monsters, but in the forests, mountains, and hills, you'll have a higher encounter rate. Your frequency of encounters will also go up during the nighttime. Alright, and that's all of the best starting advice I have for now. One last thing I'll add in here, if you've already been playing the game for a long time and just came across this guide and are regretting your party, there's really no need to regret or change it. If you've gotten far and you like the game, then all is well. It's Dragon Quest III, and part of it is playing the game your own way. If you really can't handle it, then the good news is you can recruit a new character and train them with the much higher level monsters you've been battling to level them up very quickly. You really don't have to though. Also, if you're interested, this version I'm playing on is an English translation of the Super Famicom version, which looks great, so I wanted to do it on this. My personal favorite Dragon Quest III version is actually the Game Boy Color version, known as Dragon Warrior 3, but it's an excellent JRPG on any version, really. Alright, and that's all of the best info I can provide for beginners to Dragon Quest III. If you stick with the party I recommended, or make some slight changes, you'll be in good shape for the entire game. If this video helped you, please leave a like and subscribe. I plan to make a lot of other Dragon Quest videos in the future, so if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. This is Shaztopia. Have a wonderful day.